Welcome in, everybody, to the Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Glad to be with you after we were off last week. And spoiler alert, we're going to be off next week because I'm going to see Marvel's Thunderbolts with the wife. So, yeah, we're not going to have a show this week. I've already told Johnny. Cam, I don't think Cam knew. Oh, by the way,
I knew
Cam
because
Smith
Joe
is
told
here.
me.
Cam Smith is here.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, Cam Smith.
Welcome to the show, Cam Smith. Johnny Belmer behind the glass, hitting the drops, playing the music. Good to be with you, gentlemen. So you finding out right in this moment that we're not having a show next week, Cam?
No, Joe told me earlier.
But maybe he didn't tell you why.
he did not. But that's why I have to run John Clay next week.
Oh, well, that's because Belmer's out. That has nothing to do with me.
I'll be at a wedding in Austin. Yeah.
Great.
But look, when you're a married man in his 40s with a kid, like your opportunity to go see movies on the weekend, not all that great. So I'm taking one because, damn it, I heard Thunderbolts is good and Marvel hasn't had many hits lately. So I'm gonna jump on the chance to see it. We'll get into the Texans here in just a minute, but first I want to give a quick personal shout out to all the psychopaths, including my father, who will turn 70 later this year, who are riding in the MS 150, the bike race that takes off in Houston and goes to, well, it used to go to Austin, now it goes to LaGrange. 150 miles, as the name would indicate. Helped him get started and dropped him off there. Man will turn 70 in August, and he's riding 150 miles on his bicycle today and tomorrow.
That's over a 2-day or 3-day period?
2 days.
That's still
now,
pretty impressive.
when he was younger, he did the whole thing in 1 day, 18 hours.
Hi.
Like I said,
no stopping? You gotta stop at some point.
Well, I mean, to use the restroom,
yeah.
but like pretty much that's it. Yeah.
That's
my father's a psychopath.
That's very impressive.
I love the man. He has helped me out of many jams. Obviously far athletically superior to me. The man rode to Austin and back in a single day, 18 hours. Anyway, anyone riding in that, hats off, tip the cap to you, because that is an unbelievable feat that I don't know how those people do, raising a lot of money for MS also along the way. So anyway, we will get into the Texans right now. Later, the Rockets and the Astros, of course, Mount Rushmore +1 coming up at 1:30. If you want to join in on the conversation, give us a call or a text on the HRMP listener line at 713-780-3776. Again, Brian, Cam, John here with you. And we're going to get to the Texans draft right now. I think a lot of us were hoping to see something fun, see something exciting on Thursday, but we had to wait a day. The Texans decided to trade out of 25, trading the pick to the New York Giants, who then used it on quarterback Jackson Dart from Ole Miss. Not Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders still on the board as we speak, completely free-falling, and we will get into that later in the show. But before we get into the picks the Texans made yesterday, Cam, what was your overall thought on the Texans trading out from 25? I saw a lot of people upset by the move. What were your overall thoughts on that move in particular?
I wasn't upset that they traded back. I mean, you always expect Caserio to do something that might be a little eye-opening. I think that they could have gotten a little more in return. I feel like some of these teams that traded back got more in value.
Well, certainly the very next pick.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rams traded back with the Falcons and picked up a future first.
Exactly. So I think that they could have gotten more, but it seems like they had a game plan, like going like with this entire thing. So I mean, I think the Texans have had a nice little draft so far.
Johnny, did that sound condescending to you?
A little.
Yeah.
A little.
The Texans,
I was just talking to you outside about how I like some of their
picks. They've had a nice little draft.
Yeah.
Good job there, fella. You did all right.
Yeah.
Hey, you're gonna punch him on the arm. Hey, champ. Good job.
Yeah.
Pal. Chief.
I think
what are you dropping to the Texans here?
No, seriously, I think that they've had a good draft.
You can't say they had a good little draft though. Come off as not condescending. I'm not mad about it.
Especially when the Texans are the team that eliminated
Shut your face.
the Chargers last season.
You're damn right, John Belmer.
I am not
Put
being.
some respect on the Texans.
I am not being condescending. I literally said
the Texans are your conqueror. Put some respect on their name.
I said that their first pick is somebody that I wanted the Chargers to draft. So I think that they've had a good draft outside. I figured. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's kind of the dynamic of the show. Yeah, it's kind of the dynamic.
No, just outside of thinking that they could have gotten a little more for trading out of the first round, I think that they've done pretty well.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like when they first made the trade and seeing what they got back with the three combined picks in the second round and third round, I thought, okay, yeah, it's a pretty good haul. I don't mind that because at that point in the draft, I went into it wanting an offensive lineman, specifically an interior offensive lineman. And when Donovan Jackson went pick before them to the Vikings, it's like, okay, there's not really anybody at that position I want right now. So I thought in the moment when the Texans are on their clock, really the only decision at that point, once they're on their clock, was to trade back. And they got good value. They won that trade. I think I saw the trade value win for them was like the equivalent of a third round pick. Like the value they got back, they won the trade by the value of a third round pick. So great job by Caserio. But when you see literally the team with the very next pick after you get a first, I can't help but to have some FOMO with like, man, I could have got a little more.
Exactly. Well, I mean, how many picks did they have going into it? Like 5?
In the entire draft?
Yeah, going into the draft, what was it, like 5?
Well, they had a first, they had I think second and 2/3, and then a bunch of picks on the 6th and 7th. So I don't remember. I think it may have been 7 or 8 picks overall.
I
But
don't know why I thought they had like 5 picks, but
well, they did go into last night. They had 5 picks in the second and third round going into last night, but
That's
that
what
was
I was kinda
because,
reading.
in part, because of the trade they made moving back from 25. So I look, if I'm going to fault the Texans here, and we'll see. I'm willing to let this thing play out, see how it goes. And if you have any thoughts, again, 713-780-3776 to call or text on the HRP listener line. But if I'm going to fault the Texans with, okay, going into it, they had to get an interior offensive lineman. In my opinion, they had to get them high. It wasn't once they were on the clock, right? Once they were on the clock, where Donovan Jackson goes a pick ahead of you, I don't really think they had much. They didn't really have another option but trade back. The value wasn't there for an interior offensive lineman at that point. If I'm going to give fault to them, it's the process that started in March with free agency and trading Tunsil, putting them in a situation where they were so desperate for also offensive linemen, putting them in a position where if you do get sniped like you did by the Vikings with taking Donovan Jackson one spot ahead, now you're SOL in a way. Like there were so many names we talked about, like the start of free agency. The one that stands out most, at the top of my list was Kevin Zeitler
yeah,
from the Lions, who got like a 1 year, $9 million deal. Like if the Texans had made that move, I mean, I would still wanted an offensive lineman somewhere in the process, but it wouldn't have had to been first round. I'd been more excited about a trade back because I wouldn't have felt like they're in such a desperate need. But instead, they passed on that. Instead, they traded Laramie Tunsil, and the savings they got for Laramie Tunsil, they went to overpaying Jalen Petrie. Like my fault in their process wasn't once they traded back when they're on the clock on Thursday. It was all the stuff that came before that, the free agents they didn't sign, trading your best offensive lineman, and then using that windfall not on improving the offensive line by overpaying a nickel corner. That's to me where I give more fault to the Texans.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the Tunsil trade surprised a lot of people, and kind of what you're saying. Like I could have been on board with it if maybe they weren't going to be the 25th overall pick, if they were going to be a worse team and pick, and the high teens, low,
To where they would have been in a position to draft like a Kelvin
just
Banks or whoever.
yeah, or if they, which I mean, a lot of reports said that they were interested in moving up, and maybe they tried to, and it just didn't work. But if this is kind of, I don't want to say the worst case scenario, but I think it's what people kind of feared, where they're getting rid of their best offensive lineman, and then they didn't address it in the first round.
Yeah,
And
and I
so,
think that's the fear. Like I they've got some offensive linemen that I like. I believe in Blake Fisher. I think. I mean, Cam Robinson has had some success in the past. There's some pieces there. Jarrett Patterson, especially for where he was drafted, I think is a valuable asset. I just don't know if 2025, like they made a move shipping out Laramie Tunsil that immediately impacts 2025, coming off a season where they
yeah,
didn't protect him well, gave up a higher pressure rate on CJ Stroud than Patrick Mahomes faced in the Super Bowl. And we saw how that pressure cracked the Chiefs offense. So they made a move that if it directly impacts 2025 in a negative way, shipping out Laramie Tunsil. And to this point, they haven't counteracted that negative move, right? They traded for Laken Tomlinson, or they traded for Ed Ingram, decided
yeah,
Lincoln Tomlinson, two guys whose one-on-one pressure rate given up was worse than Kenyon Green. So problem not solved with those guys.
No.
And then they draft a guy with Ursary in the second round who and we're gonna hear some audio from Todd McShay here in maybe the next segment. That there's a lot of people that like him, but everyone seems to say is like, well, he's needs a little work, right? He might not be ready this year, and he's probably a right tackle where you already have what four other guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you already have Cam Robinson, you already have Trent Brown, you already have Titus Howard, you already have Blake Fisher. Now you're adding Ursay to it. Like you have five tackles. I mean, obviously, it would seem like Titus Howard will move inside the guard,
He has to.
but like the things you've done haven't really improved the problem that you had on the interior offensive line.
At least for this upcoming season.
But that's a big concern.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the Texans, and I mean, you look at the rest of the team, like they look like there could be a team that could compete for the most part. I like what they did at wide receiver in the draft. They've obviously got a great defense. I believe in Joe Mixon. I believe in the quarterback, CJ Stroud. But for 2025, for a team that has division title and beyond hopes, like they didn't really improve or address their biggest need.
Yeah, and I think another issue too is obviously Cam Robinson was like a one-year signing, so he's like a gap filler. But the problem is if what we're hearing from Irsay is he's somewhat of a project, if you're not going to get anything out of Cam Robinson, and Irsay is supposed to be a project, and you're
I mean,
arguably in even more trouble.
I mean, Cam Robinson's going to start.
Oh, he's going to start, but you don't know. I mean,
you don't know what level. Okay, you're saying
Yeah.
what level of play he'll be at. Okay,
And so
I see what you're saying.
I feel like, they signed Cameron Robinson to fill in this year. They draft Irsay so that hopefully in 2 years he's ready. But if Robinson is not good at all this year, are you just going to force Irsay, who's supposed to be a project, in at left tackle? And it's just kind of like,
Well, they would probably force in Blake Fisher first before Ursary. But then again, that was the guy that drafted in the second round last year, and he was a swing tackle for him last year. Now he got pushed into duty because of injury at times, but he's not. You can't go into 2025 and say, I know Blake Fisher is starting quality 100%. Like, you can't say that. We don't know that yet. And that's kind of the problem. Like, all of these things you have, other than I feel pretty good about Titus Howard at left guard. I think Jarrett Patterson is at least a average NFL center. And I think Cam Robinson could be an average left tackle, I think. But you look at everything else, Laken Tomlinson, terrible last year. Ed Ingram, terrible last year. Ursary, your second round pick this year, complete unknown.
Yeah.
Blake Fisher, your second round pick last year. I would say he's beyond being a project, but you don't really know what you're going to get from him this year. There's just way too many question marks. Like all the question marks we had are all pretty much the ones we had in February are all still kind of there, and that's kind of the problem. But let's move off of that, and when we come back on the other side of the break, let's get into the picks the Texans did make yesterday once they decided to go ahead and make a few in the second and third round. That when the bullpen returns, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back into the Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5 with you here on a glorious Houston afternoon. On day 3 of the NFL draft, we just saw Barron Sorrell from the University of Texas, Hook'em, get drafted by the Packers. The second Longhorn, I believe, drafted by the Packers. They also drafted Matthew Golden. I'm not sure if there was another Longhorn in between, but something of local note there with Barron Sorrell going off the board. But let's get into the most important thing for the locals here. That's what the Houston Texans did. Didn't make a draft pick on round 1, but got off to a hot start in day 2 with the second pick in the second round, drafting Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver out of Iowa State. Big year last year for the Cyclones. 87 catches for 1,183 yards, 9 touchdowns. And Cam, one of the things you and I were talking about before the show started was just how freakish it is for how closely he seems to fit to Nico Collins as far as like size and height and weight. Jaden Higgins, 6'4", 214. Nico, 6'4", 215. And then they ran, Jaden ran a 4.47 40, and Nico Collins ran a 4.45 40. So it almost feels like they copied and pasted Nico Collins into the body of Jaden Higgins. And before we share our own thoughts on the pick, right now let's hear from former ESPN draft scout and now doing it on his own. But Todd McShay, his thoughts on Jaden Higgins. Seems like he loves him.
I mean, they took my 2 favorite receivers, my absolute favorite, the teammates from Iowa State.
Teammates.
Reunited. Feels so good. Jaden Higgins, wide receiver, 6'4", and juice. Ran in the 4.4s. We talked about him earlier today, folks. Great release package off the line of scrimmage. Can run past you at that size, the 33-plus inch arm length. Contested catches, 20 of them this last year. Led the Big 12.
I'm excited about Jaden Higgins. I know you said, as a Chargers fan, you were hoping he was going to slip to your boys.
I did.
I don't remember how many picks later the Chargers pick was after that spot, but yeah, I'm very pleased. I'll still say, offensive line was my top need. So I guess in a perfect world, I would like to see that first pick be an offensive lineman, but whatever. I do really love the Jaden Higgins pick, not only because he played in a major conference where he was productive, so checks those 2 boxes. I don't usually like, super small school guys or guys that you're more having to project because they didn't produce in college. He checks both of those boxes. The size, the height, the weight, being basically a copy and paste from Nico is exciting, especially since, I like the addition of Christian Kirk, but to me, his best role on the team is as a slot receiver. And going into the draft, you're probably going to have to first force Kirk into being an outside receiver. But now with Jaden Higgins, who, again, 6'4", 215, same size as Nico Collins, he can play on the outside, and that allows Christian Kirk to play in your slot. And I feel a whole lot better about the top, the guys that should be on the field the majority of the time. Obviously, their receiver depth goes beyond 3. But, for the most part, your top 3 receivers are going to be the guys that get the majority of the snaps. I'm feeling pretty good about that receiving core, which was a big question mark when we went into the offseason.
We talked about it. I love that pick. That's somebody that I was hoping the Chargers might be able to land, but he went to the Texans, and I'm excited for them for that. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he was top 5 in lowest drop percentage in college football.
I have that.
Let
me see. I had that tweet favorited. Let me scroll. Okay, yeah. So drop rates of the top 10 wide receivers this was from the 33rd team. Drop rates of the top 10 wide receivers on their 2025 big board. Jaden Higgins, lowest in the draft class at 1.4%. He only dropped 4 of 295 targets since 2022.
Yeah, that's crazy. So not only is he big body, has decent speed, but he basically catches everything thrown to him just like Nico.
Just like Nico Collins. It feels like you got Nico Collins 2.0, which,
yeah.
I mean, that's a high bar to put on the kid. He hasn't played an NFL snap yet, but all the measurables, the production, the drop rate, all that seems to line up with you got maybe, I guess for now we'll have to call him poor man Nico Collins because he hasn't done it in the league yet, but you might have gotten Nico Collins all over again.
I mean, that's the most comparable person
Yeah.
to, and it's crazy that they're on the same.
Well, I
same
mean,
team now.
clearly Nick Casario has the type, right?
Yes, clearly.
It's like, who should we take? How about the guy that looks exactly like the one I picked in the 3rd round, a few years ago, that's turned into a top 5, easily top 10, but maybe top 5 wide receiver in the league. So,
And I like it too, because I know it's obviously, this is many moons ago, but it seemed like back in the day, even with Andre Johnson, one of the biggest issues with the Texans was they just didn't have big bodies that could bully people in the end zone. I mean, as big as
oh my
Andre and
God.
good as he was,
He was a 6'4".
yeah,
I think he was 6'2", 6'1".
and he was, he was 6-7 touchdowns in a season. Now you have 2 6'4", 215 guys
Oh,
that, I mean, just
Cam, you're getting me excited.
yeah.
Got some sports pants
I'm very
tent over here.
Hey.
Thinking about CJ Stroud dropping back in the end zone and getting to throw to 2 guys who are 6'4", just sort of box people out and play basketball in the end zone.
Exactly. So no.
What was that, Johnny?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's not exactly what I was saying, but I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate this. Wow, Johnny going hard on us there. Let's skip the offensive lineman for now, and we'll backtrack, Johnny. Let's go now to the clip on Jalen Noel, because 1, it's another wide receiver, and 2, it's from the exact same school. So here's Todd McShay talking about the Texans' 3rd round pick, Jalen Noel, wide receiver out of Iowa State.
Jalen Noel.
Don't say it like that.
Jalen Noel.
In the middle of the 3rd, huh?
I couldn't believe it. It was the steal of the entire draft. Everyone wants to talk about Shador and the quarterback, but when you get Jalen Noel, and he's going to come in and he's going to break NFL cornerbacks' ankles with his routes and his savvy and his 4.39 speed and his explosion. And yeah, it's not the biggest catch radius, but I got that on the other side. Now those two complement each other. And by the way, I got Nico Collins. He missed 5 games last year, but he's coming back.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Christian
Kirk, you traded for
Christian Kirk. So now CJ's got dudes.
Yes.
Big and small. We got 2 bigs, 2 smalls.
2 bigs, 2 smalls, Cam. They got 2 bigs, 2 smalls. I really like they went into this offseason with Nico Collins and then the 3 of us at wide receiver. Basically, that's what they had at wide receiver, and they've added to that with the trade with Christian Kirk, who obviously was hurt last year. Has had some injury problems, but is at least an above average wide receiver 3 at worst. Right? You add to that with Higgins and Jalen Noel out of Iowa State. Eventually in 2026, cross your fingers, cross your toes, cross whatever, you get Tank Dell back. They're in a spot where if they're able to resign Christian Kirk, they've got a seriously deep they have a seriously deep wide receiver room, I think, even this year. But I mean, next year if Tank Dell returns, it's not quite, it won't quite beat the excitement people had of Nico Diggs Tank coming into this year before they all got hurt. But I think it's really looking like an exciting wide receiver room going into this year and beyond.
It might be the deepest wide receiver core that they've ever had.
Deepest. The top end talent outside of Nico, TBD. We don't know what Higgins and Noel will turn into. But yeah, I think deepest, because that was that was obviously a big question mark going into the early part of the offseason free agency. They signed Justin Watson, they signed Braxton Berrios, they still had John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson, and you're looking at that room with Tank Dell not coming back, and
and they love those Iowa State receivers.
Are they going to have to start Justin Watson in Braxton? It was
not anymore.
It was looking, desperate, and I don't think that's overselling. It was looking desperate, and they now, with the addition of Christian Kirk and then the addition of the 2 Iowa State wide receivers, they not only have a wide receiver room I'm comfortable with, they have one I'm excited for.
Well, yeah, and I think, ultimately when they first brought Kirk in, he was automatically going to be the 2 because Tank's out and Stephon Diggs is gone. But now, because of how good Higgins is supposed to be, you would assume he's going to be the 2, and
Kirk's probably the slot,
and everybody loves Noel. So I mean, heck, Kirk could ultimately slide to the 4, and if that's somebody who has averaged around 800, 900 yards a season, if that's what you're getting out of your 4, then that's crazy.
Yeah, I guess you could be in a situation where the pick of Jalen Noel is something that allows you to not have to pay Christian Kirk. I mean, playing fantasy football, playing Madden GM, I'd still like to have them all because
Oh, yeah.
I want CJ Stroud to have all the wide receivers. Let's get Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson here too while we're at it. But it might be in a situation where if you have some salary cap concerns, where you go ahead and let Christian Kirk walk because you have his replacement now with Jalen Noel, and you roll into 2026 with Nico, your two Iowa State wide receivers with Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins, and then the returning Tank Dell, and you're four deep with guys you love.
Yeah.
So that's a great spot to be. Let's quickly go to their other second round pick, the offensive tackle out of Minnesota, who they traded up for. Interesting tape I saw with him going up against Abdul Carter. Held his own, didn't allow a sack in that game with Abdul Carter rushing him all game long. So props to him. Ursary there on the job blocking Abdul Carter. But let's hear right now from Todd McShay his thoughts on the Texans' second round pick, Ursary, the offensive tackle out of Minnesota.
In 2029, when we look back, Ariante Ursary will be one of the top 3 offensive tackles in this class and may be the best or second best offensive tackle from this group. Here's the thing with Ursary, man. On tape, I'm looking at a 6'6", 331-pounder who ran a 5.0140. And I already told you that size with that speed, what it means. Big guys that move like this don't fail. Very rarely. Orlando Browns, Dan Fa'alele, Amarius Mims, Cincinnati, Trent Brown, 6'7", 355, 7th round pick, been in the league 100 years. This guy moves well, and he's a big, big dude, man. He surprised me on tape because he's quick and his knee bend. I think he has the potential to develop into an elite pass blocker. I do.
He certainly has potential.
Massive frame, engulfs defenders in the run game. Quick, surprisingly balanced. This guy's a left tackle in the league, man.
Now we'll see if he's. Yeah, I thought I clipped that out, but I guess that was from TikTok. But I don't know if he's a left tackle. Lance Zierlein, for what it's worth, has him. Thinks he's more of a right tackle. The write up on Lance, I'll go through it quickly. 3-year starter at left tackle with good power. Ursary is not a natural bender, which creates disadvantages with leverage and when attempting to mirror moving fronts. Ursary has the potential to become an average starting tackle on the right side, but his success will be tied to matchups across from him. So I think it's a good pick. It's not an exciting pick. I do take what Todd McShay says though to heart about guys who profile as like a plus athlete at his size don't fail. But that doesn't mean he's a home run. That doesn't mean he's an all pro. He's just, well, to Lance's point, that means average NFL starter. Like
on the right side.
Yeah, on the right side. Yeah, he's not Laramie Tunsil's replacement. I think this is a situation where maybe Blake Fisher moves to left tackle down the road. Like once Cam Robinson leaves after the season, maybe Blake Fisher moves to left tackle. Maybe Titus Howard if he's still on the team, because that could always be a cap cut at some point. Maybe he's the left tackle and Fisher. They will have to figure it out. Maybe Titus Howard just stays at left guard and Fisher and Ursary are tackles. But I like that they have options. I like his profile, even though it seems like he's a bit of a project for 2025, or at least needs more development before he's ready to start. I still have concerns about 2025 because I don't know if he has a role in the starting lineup in 2025. But I think I like the pick overall.
See, I read this as he's looked at as going to be a really good left tackle, but if he has to move to right tackle, he'll give you average play.
Todd McShay seems to think that Lance does not. And look, this is all guesswork here. I mean, those two guys watch obviously infinitely more film than you and I do, so I'll trust their opinion. Problem is, their opinions are different. So,
indeed,
like one of them has to be wrong here. But I mean, regardless, if you get a starter at left tackle or right tackle, I think you hit a home run.
Yeah.
The question is, how good of a starter can he be? And then if he's right tackle, who's your left? Does Blake Fisher develop? Does Titus Howard move back out? Or is he still on the roster because Cam Robinson's gone? So there's some questions there for Nick Caserio to answer still. I think my biggest concern with Ursary is I don't think he helps you in 2025. So if I'm going to kill the Texans on anything, is he doesn't help you now, and the Texans need to win now. They're ready to win now, except for the offensive line. Ursary, I don't think helps you in 2025, so that's my criticism. But I do think he will eventually be an average to above average starter for them 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I like that they have a lot of potential good options at the ends and at tackles, but the interior offensive
Interior
line is
offensive
still
line's
left
looking
to,
rough for
yeah, it's
2025.
still like
right now, your interior offensive line, it would be left guard Titus Howard, which is fine.
yeah.
And then your center and right guard in some combination would be Jarrett Patterson and Juice Scruggs, which
It's not the worst.
it's not
but
the worst. But the problem here, and I made this point the other day on the Killer Bees, like even if you tell me Juice Scruggs and Jarrett Patterson are average NFL starters, cool. But you've got zero depth behind them at those spots. Like I know you technically have Ed Ingram and Lincoln Tomlinson on the roster, but again, their one-on-one pass blocking success, like the pressures allowed, were as bad or worse than Kenyon Green,
Yeah.
who we ran off the roster. So like I mean, the offensive line outside of running back might be the position most prone to injury just because of the wars they go through on an every down basis. Those guys don't leave the field. They don't rotate out like, defensive linemen or defensive backs or linebackers. So you lose one of those guys, and I think you've got a big problem. So that'll be something to watch for this season. I hope that Nick Caserio has some answers there. Or hope maybe the hope is just that he's right on these guys he's added to the roster. But I have some major
that's
concerns.
all you can hope for at this point now,
Yeah.
so
Really, I mean, what is the other option? I mean,
make a trade in the season. I
yeah,
don't
but
know.
that's kind of the point. Like, that's not really all that realistic. So, anyway, right now it would be a lot of crossing our fingers and hoping for the best with that interior of the offensive line. But overall, I do like their first three picks. Quickly before we go to break, Jalen Smith, their fourth pick yesterday, the cornerback out of USC. Now, obviously, take these with a grain of salt, but this was pointed out by John Crumpler on Twitter. Quote, Jalen Smith was the 30th ranked cornerback on Dane Brugler's board, valued as a seventh-round prospect. Similarly, Lance Zierlein had him valued in the seventh round as well. It kind of feels like the Houston Texans lit a top 100 pick on fire there. Can't lie. Now, Lance did point out afterwards that he and Brugler and others had similar feelings on Kalen Bullock last year. He was a third-round pick by the Texans. People thought he was drafted too high, and obviously Kalen Bullock worked out great. So the league was, or the draft evaluators were wrong on Bullock. The league or Nick Caserio was not. I hope that's the case again because Nick Caserio does have a great track record of evaluating defensive backs. I mentioned Bullock, Jalen Petrie. I didn't like the contract extension, but that was as a third round pick, that was a hit. Obviously, Kamari last year, Derek Stingley Jr., massive hits as well. So Nick Caserio knows how to scout defensive backs, but the prognosticators, the draft experts, didn't really love that pick of Jalen Smith, the cornerback out of USC.
I get last year there was a little bit more need in the secondary and cornerback, so pulling the trigger maybe early on Bullock I think just makes more sense than them. I don't, to be honest, I don't understand this pick. Like obviously you always want to have depth at D line and in the secondary, but I don't think that they needed to get a cornerback in the third round. I think you could have definitely waited until the fifth or sixth because he's just gonna add depth. Like this not somebody that you're gonna start or see a lot of.
Yeah, because right now your five starting defensive backs are set.
Yeah.
I mean, Stingley and last year your outside corners, Jalen Petrie's in the slot, and your safeties are C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Kalen Bullock. So you're right. Like this corner is coming as depth. I still thought corner's one of those spots to me. I would say the same thing about offensive linemen and pass rushers. You can never have enough.
Nope.
So I don't mind them drafting depth, and I think the depth behind those five guys I mentioned is kind of thin. So I'm with you though. Like I understood them addressing at some point third round when you still had questions on the interior offensive line, and I'll also throw in defensive tackle. I think there's a question mark
And tight end.
And backup running back behind Joe Mixon because no running back plays 17 games. I thought those were all more worthy of addressing in the third round than the cornerback. Now, obviously, I can't speak to Caserio's board, who he had value there. Maybe the guys on the board at the time at those other positions I mentioned just didn't make sense. I'll leave that up to him. I'll trust his evaluation on cornerbacks, but that one was a little bit of a head scratcher. Of all the picks so far, they now made five because they picked a running back also out of USC later or earlier today. That one I think was the most head scratching.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, other side of the break. We're way, way over. My bad there, Johnny. When we come back, we'll finish up our Texans conversation with some scenarios that apparently Nick Caserio passed on, including trading up all the way to 12 with the Cowboys to draft Tyler Booker. And then something that bothers me, I don't know if it should. I'll let Cam or and John tell me if this should bother me so much, but Caserio is lying to us, and I don't know why. Down the other side of the break, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 925.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, it's the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back in ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5, talking Texans and draft and all that sort of good stuff. Next hour, we will definitely get into the Rockets and what the Astros have done over the last couple of days before we get to Mount Rushmore +1. But right now, finishing off our Texans conversation, going to the top of the hour. If you want to join in, share your own thoughts on what the Texans did or what they should have done, give us a call or a text on the HRMP listener line, 713-780-3776. Again, 713-780-3776. So Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Belmer with you here. And one of the more interesting things, Cam, that I saw come out of day one was the idea that apparently Nick Caserio was calling everybody trying to trade up and go get an offensive lineman. And the one that seemed to have the most legs, and we're about to hear audio from a station in Dallas confirming the report, was apparently the Texans were trying to go up as high as spot number 12 with the Cowboys, presumably trying to get offensive lineman Tyler Booker out of Alabama, who I really wanted. That was like that was my top guy, who I thought at the time could last at 25. He obviously went much earlier at 12. The Cowboys went ahead and took him once the deal fell through. But let's hear right now from a radio station in Dallas talking about the trade that almost happened between the Cowboys and the Texans.
Apparently, and this is coming from those within the building, Houston was the team that was on the clock.
Yeah.
Or that was on the phone.
Yeah.
Houston was the one that wanted to make the trade. Apparently, it was a low ball offer initially. Steven called back, wanted something more. Houston said no. So that's where the kind of breakdown happened from a trade scenario side. And they decided to stick and pick with the guy that they had very high on their board.
So, I mean, trading 25 to 12, like, I appreciate the aggressiveness from Nick Caserio, but like looking at the trade value chart, Cam, that would have taken so I went to the trade value chart of Pro Football Reference. The 25th pick, according to their value chart, sorry to bury us in numbers a little bit, but had a value of 720, whereas the 12th pick had a value of 1200. So a difference of about 500 there. So when you look at the trade value chart, the last pick in the first round this year had a pick of 590. And even if, so the Texans, like, that value to trade up from the difference of 25 to 12 was 520. But teams are never willing to do that for the exact value of that trade. You're going to have to go over value. We've seen that basically every single trade, like the Travis Hunter trade this year, the Will Anderson trade a couple of years ago. You're going to have to go over value. So I think at minimum, you're talking about, and again, the 32nd pick this year, last pick of the first round, was a value of 590. The difference was 520. I think you're at least talking about a future first if Nick Caserio is able to pull off that trade. I don't know what this final offer was, but having the knowledge of it would have taken a future one, maybe even a little bit more. I'm kind of glad they didn't do it.
Yeah, no, because this isn't a game of what can I do for you. It's what can I do for me. So you know that teams are always going to ask more than, or they're gonna ask for more value than was probably fair in that trade.
And I'm fine with overpaying a little bit, but
me too. But you're talking about, you're literally doubling down. You're going from 25th to 12, and you know it's the Cowboys. So they're not going to try and
think
do.
Jerry would have taxed us.
Yeah, they're not going to try and do the. I mean, I'm not going to say that the Cowboys and Texans are a rival, but you're not going to do a favor to another team in the same state, especially when Dallas was high on Tyler Booker to begin with. So it's kind of like, oh, the Texans want to take our guy. We're going to ask for a lot more.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I'm curious what the Cowboys wanted versus what Caserio initially offered, because you're right. I mean, the in-state rival thing, I think it could be a factor, but might be oversaid. But I do agree with, like, clearly the Cowboys love Tyler Booker because they took him. So, I mean, whatever the trade value was for moving 25 to 12, it was going to cost, I think, a decent chunk over that because Tyler Booker was your guy. Like, to your point, you're not only trying to find the value to make it worth it moving back to 25, you're basically saying the guy you want, he's now ours. Like, that's going to cost a little bit extra. So,
and clearly the Cowboys over the years know how to draft offensive linemen.
Now that Stephen Jones is more involved, for sure.
Yeah, and if the Cowboys are moving back to 25, we're seeing that all the best offensive linemen were going before that. So they would have been.
Yeah, they're basically signing up to lose out on the position entirely. Well, not entirely, but the high-end talent.
Yeah, and they need offensive line help just as much as the Texans do.
Zach Martin retired, so certainly. So now, why do I want Tyler Booker so much? Well, I mean, one, he's a good player out of Alabama. Obviously, good program, great conference. But this audio you're about to hear from Tyler Booker, I believe this is from the Combine, talking about why he loves playing football. This gave me a little bit of sports pants tent, guys. This is a large part why I wanted Tyler Booker.
There's legal assault out there, and I love football because the brand of football that I play, I make guys not love football anymore, and I do that every day, every down, by really just giving them my all and letting them know I'm not going to let up. So the thing I love the most about football is taking the love away from other people.
The thing he loves about football the most, guys, is taking away the love of football for his opponent across, beating the hell out of them, being a bully. I really, really wanted Tyler Booker. Look, I mean, sometimes I think mentality or being is he Texans worthy, that whole thing, sometimes that's oversaid. But if you're looking up trying to put a picture to the swarm mentality that D'Amico Ryans wants to play with,
Yeah.
it's right there.
And
It's Tyler Booker. That quote we just heard, that's swarm.
And that's a massive man committing legal assault.
Yeah,
6'5",
legal-
322. Like, oh,
They should have,
God.
if they had drafted him, they should have made shirts with that legal assault.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They
I
would've.
would have bought
You
one.
know they would
I
have.
would have bought one. Absolutely. So, yeah, I obviously I think they missed out on Tyler Booker, but I don't blame them for not trading up to 12. If they had done it, I guess I could have been talked into it because the bottom line is help your quarterback, and that helps your quarterback. But man, a future first, I think, was too much in that scenario. So I don't really blame.
And that's not all that they would have had to.
No,
to
you're
give
right.
up.
Like it would have been a future first plus maybe a fourth rounder or something like that. There would have been some sweeteners thrown in. So especially just 2 years removed for doing the same thing for Will Anderson. Like now, I guess to the other side of it, if I could quickly play devil's advocate to my own statement, which is weird. I'm having a conversation with myself in that aspect, but they did just get extra picks back from Washington for Laramie Tunsil. So, I mean, if they'd done it, I think I could have justified it to myself as like, well, this is basically trading Laramie Tunsil for Tyler Booker. If you're giving up those extra picks you got in return for Tunsil and then turning that into Tyler Booker. But
I just think because it was Tyler Booker, it was
I just wanted the legal assault guy,
like
man.
it could have. And I mean, I think I'm glad that they didn't pull the trigger. I think it would have made more sense to maybe like move up and get like Greg Zabel at like where he
went 18, I think. Yeah.
To like
I don't know
Seattle.
what the value would have been there, but certainly six picks later would have been.
You would have had to give a lot less.
Yeah, I don't think a future first would have been involved. So yeah, that would have been far more tolerable. So maybe a missed opportunity there, but I understand Caserio passing on that. And one more quick note on that, I saw some people like getting kind of upset about that notion that you heard the first clip we played from the guys from Dallas, being upset that Nick Caserio quote unquote lowballed the Dallas Cowboys. I don't understand why people are so upset about that. To me, the only way I'd be upset about the quote unquote lowball offer to the Cowboys if the offer was like, we all have that dude in our fantasy league, right? That sends you like just the terrible offer, you just decline it, you don't even respond to him. That's the only way I would have been mad at Nick Caserio. If he sent an offer so offensive to the Cowboys that Stephen Jones says, like, man, I'm blocking your number.
Yeah, but this is also the Cowboys. They are entitled. So what a low ball to them could probably be a very fair trade to the other 30 teams.
Sure. Not exactly not where I was going, but absolutely I agree with that. But I would throw in, like, don't you want Nick Caserio to try to get the best price possible first? And then if the Cowboy, like, you don't know, like they've made some weird trades. I mean, the Jonathan Mingo trade recently, the trading of fourth for Trey Lance, like they've made some weird trades, trading away Amari Cooper for a 5th round pick.
Maybe that's why.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like Nick Caserio's like, we might be able to get them.
Finesse these
like,
guys.
Yeah, we might be able, yeah, exactly. Why not try to win the trade first? And if they say no, then you start to have the conversation. But like, do you want Nick Caserio to just barge in like, okay, a future first and a 4th? Like, no, start with the lower end of it and then work your way up. That's just negotiation.
Again, it's what can I do for me, not you.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why they're negotiations.
I don't understand why people were so upset about that with Caserio. Now, something I am upset about with Caserio, and this is nitpicking, this is petty, this really doesn't mean anything, but I don't know why Nick Caserio does things like we're about to hear. Like, last year or the year before, during the draft process, like someone asked them about like windows, like you always hear that, like, what's the team's championship window, what's their window to compete? And he got on his high horse, got on his soapbox, like, I don't even know what windows are, what does that mean? Like, okay, even if you don't subscribe to the like defining the amount of time you compete in, you know what they mean by a window of time. Like, I don't know why Nick Caserio will push back on things like that. So that in mind, let's now hear 2 clips from Nick Caserio. First, Nick Caserio says, we don't draft for need.
When you look at what you did in free agency, do you feel like it puts you in a position where you don't have to, obviously no one wants to draft purely for need, you have it set up where you can be flexible as far as positions and BBPA?
Yeah, well, we've never drafted for need around here. I mean, we're never going to. This whole concept of drafting for need, honest to God, I don't even know what it means. I mean, what does it mean? If someone could tell me that, I'd love to hear it, but we don't look at it that way. We need to keep drafting good people, good football players that are going to enhance the overall culture of our building, and we're not going to stray from that.
I don't know what draft for need means.
As
No, there was
someone
two-
that smart, he damn near he knows what that fucking
yeah,
means.
obviously, right? Like, and there was two lies in there. One, he says we never draft for need. Lie. I'll just tell you right now, lie. And look, this is not a Nick Caserio only thing. I hear other GMs say this. I hear people say it in other sports. It's a lie every single time people say that. Now, every pick they take may not necessarily be their biggest need. That is true. They may sometimes strengthen a strength. They may sometimes take a player at like their third biggest need because the value isn't there for the needs ahead of it. But to say we never draft for need is the most asinine thing I've ever heard. So
because you needed a quarterback and you drafted CJ Stroud. You needed a defensive end and you traded up to get one. Yeah.
You gave a quarterback package to trade up for Will Anderson. Okay, let me ask you this, Cam. They made four picks yesterday, right? Two of them were wide receivers. Was that a need?
Yep.
They drafted for need. Their other pick of their first three picks was an offensive lineman. Did they need an offensive lineman?
Yes.
They drafted for need.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, Nick Caserio? Like, I mean, we can go through, and actually we partially did this exercise on the Killer Bees last week, like putting theory to fact, trying to see, where they drafted for need, where they drafted best player available. I don't know why Nick Caserio is pushing back on this. Like, the only thing I can think of to rationalize it is he wants to try to send the message to teams that we're a wild card. We could do anything. Like, he wants to throw people off the scent. Like, if people are trying to jump ahead of them
smoke screen.
Yeah, if the people are trying to jump ahead of them because they know we need an offensive lineman. We know the Texans need an offensive lineman, so let's jump one spot in front of them. He's trying to throw people off that scent by trying to maintain like an air of unpredictability. But who's buying it? Like, I understand the game you're trying to play, but one, don't lie to us, and two, no one's really buying it.
And three, if you're not drafting for need, why did you call Dallas and try and move up from 25 to 12 to draft an offensive guard, which is a need? Like, you're not fooling anybody.
Not only just the need, their absolute biggest need, without a shadow of doubt, was interior offensive line. And they were talking about trading all the way up from 25 to 12 for it. Oh, but we don't draft for need. Shut the hell up, Nick. Well, hold on. Let me backtrack. Nick, first, you've done a great job. Second, shut the hell up. You draft for need.
Yeah.
Everyone drafts for need.
Unless you're one of the top two teams, like Kansas City and Philly, you can get away with not drafting for need because you essentially have somewhat of a complete roster. But this isn't basketball where you're literally drafting the best player there, and then you can move them around once they get on the team. In football, it's completely different.
Well,
you have to build for need.
Yeah, because I could hear the argument, of never drafting for need in baseball, because you draft a guy, he's on your major league team 4 years later.
Yeah.
Who knows? Even if you're drafting a guy like for the Astros, let's say last year they drafted second baseman. Even though you have Jose Altuve now, where's Jose Altuve going to be in 4 years? Who knows, right? So I could see that in baseball because of the time, the period of time it takes for guys to get to the major leagues. To your point in basketball, I could see it there because one, basketball is just a best player. Like basketball is won by having the best overall player, right? I think it's more reliant upon the individual than the other sports necessarily. And basketball has become so positionless that even if you draft a guy that are both technically small forwards, you can still make things work by playing one at the 2, the other at the 4, whatever. You can make things work in kind of positionless sports, but football is not that. It's not positional. It's like the most positionalized. Is positionalized the word? It's the most positionalized sport there is. And yeah,
especially when there are certain positions that are so crucial to the success of the team, like in the trenches, the quarterback, like those are all needs.
Yeah, I mean,
whether it's your top need or your second need, it's still a need.
Yeah, if you were to power rank the importance of positions, I mean, to me, it's quarterback, those who protect the quarterback, those who
get after the quarterback,
and those who try to intercept the quarterback.
Yeah.
Like those are the most important positions, and I guess the wide receiver would be in that group, and then you move further down the list. But I just don't understand why Nick Caserio is pushing back on it, and he's wrong. Like, so because of those two things, like I think maybe more irked than I should have. Johnny, weigh in here. We haven't heard from you today. Am I right to be a little annoyed here from Nick Caserio saying he never drafts for need when he very clearly does?
I think you're probably nitpicking too much. I mean, I think he's done a great job as the general man. Now, if you had a lot of questionable draft picks and picks weren't hitting and people were frustrated and we wanted him out of here, then this is just another layer on top that you can throw on to complain and say, even look at this. He's lying to us. He's doing, but he's done a great job. And I think if he's doing it for a purpose, I mean, we obviously are speculating as to why, then who cares? Let him do what he's thing. By the way, quickly, before I let you go,
okay.
Positionalized, not a word.
Oh, damn. See, I yeah. You know
Did
what?
you say that?
You know what? Hey,
I didn't catch it.
Johnny, during the break, call up Merriam-Webster. Let him know positionalize needs to be added to the board. Look, we're adding words to the dictionary all the time, right?
Oh, for sure.
Every single year, there's like a word of the year that didn't exist because it's now slang. Merriam-Webster, because I know they're listening. Shout out to Merriam. Shout out to Webster. I know they're listening. Positionalized needs to be in the dictionary for 2026. You with me, Cam?
I'm on board.
All right. See, we're making. Hey, Johnny, we're making history today. Did you know when you came into work today, you'd be making history?
We're making our own dictionary.
We're adding words to the dictionary. Positionalized. And Nick Caserio's lying to us again. Great job, Nick. Stop lying to us. Don't insult our intelligence. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. He's done a great job.
Have some decorum.
I hope I've said that enough to drive that point home. He's done an outstanding job, but he's also lying to us and annoys me. All right. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk Rockets Warriors Game 3. Don't go anywhere. ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Hour number 2, ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Welcome back into the bullpen. Again, quick programming note. We'll all be off next week. Johnny's going to be in Austin. I'll be seeing Marvel's Thunderbolts with the wife. Cam's probably listen to Selena, I assume, right? I mean, I assume that's what you do on an average weekend. But what are you going to do with? No, you'll be actually. I guess. Are you up here running John Clay Wolf?
I'm doing John Clay Wolf, but
obviously you're winning of the three of us. I mean, Johnny's in Austin. I'm seeing a movie, but I think Cam wins. He has the honor of running the Wolf Pack here in Houston, 9 to 12.
So thrilled to be able to do that after years of doing it and not doing it. No, actually, I'm going to be spending time with my baby sister who's moving to Honduras.
Oh yeah, I think I saw you post something about that on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's mission work. Is that right?
She went last year for mission work, but loved it so much that now she accepted like a teaching position. So she's gonna be down
she's moving there full time
for at least 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Wow, credit to her. So
yeah,
to Honduras, you said?
I did. Yeah. Yep. So, and she knows a lick of Spanish. I could do that.
Wait, say it again.
She knows a lick of Spanish.
She doesn't know any Spanish?
She knows hardly any. So like
you know some Spanish.
I do. So I've been telling her like you need to get on Duolingo, like you need to start having like conversations and like interactions. I mean, she's going with other people that are bilingual, so hopefully she'll be able to like pick up on it and have like a translator there for a while. But yeah, when she told me this, I was like, what are you doing?
All right. So how do you try this on for a transition here, Johnny? Rate me after this. How do you say must win in Spanish?
I have no idea.
Okay, well that doesn't help the transition. Damn it. But I think I think tonight, look, I know it's technically not a must win. It's game 3 and the series is tied 1-1. But it seems like Jimmy Butler's going to miss. And if he doesn't miss, he's going to be severely limited with his butt bruise. You cannot, I don't care if it's in Golden State, the Bay Area, whatever town they're claiming right now. I don't remember if it's Oakland or San Francisco now. It's no longer Oakland. Even if it's on the road, you cannot lose to the Warriors without Jimmy Butler and have us believe that you can win the series. You can't lose to the Warriors with Jimmy Butler at 80%, at 70%. You cannot lose with an out or hobbled or at least, impacted Jimmy Butler because of his butt bruise and have us take you as threats to win the series and do anything.
No, because they beat the Warriors in the regular season with both of them healthy. So to lose in the playoffs with a not healthy Jimmy Butler and honestly, I mean, outside of Butler and Curry, I mean, even their next best player, the dude with the little curly Pazinski or whatever.
Oh yeah. Pod. I just call him Pod. I'm not gonna say the whole name.
He's been fighting like a virus, so he's not even 100%. So there's absolutely no reason why the Rockets should lose game 3, even if Jimmy starts. He's not 100%.
No, there's no way. There's no way. Like I've read up a few things about how long this sort of injury usually takes, and they say it's a week to 2 weeks, and he's had 2 days. So,
yeah, and it's a lower back, so you're like your back.
Well, it's like pelvis and glutes. I mean,
which is constantly moving in basketball. Well, like it'd be one thing if it was like a upper arm contusion or something like that, but it's really
if it's non-shooting arm. Yeah, maybe. So yeah, I just look. Again, technically not a must win. I know the purists will hear me say must win and throw their hands in the air, maybe drive off the road. I don't mean to cause an accident, but you cannot lose to the Warriors with a hobbled or an out Jimmy Butler. I mean, this was a Warriors team that was under 500 when they made the trade for Jimmy Butler. This was at best, a mediocre team without Jimmy Butler. You cannot lose to a mediocre. We can run off the list of the other names that are going out on the court for the Warriors, whether it's Post or Pod or Moody, or they brought back who was it they brought back off of Mothballs the other night? I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head. But that roster that they run out there, Steven Spencer, whatever the hell that guy was.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, like there's just so many rando. It's Jimmy Butler. It's the big 3, Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, Draymond Green. And Draymond Green's not an offensive threat. And then everyone else after that is just randos. It's not a good roster. Like, they might have the best 2 players in the series with Curry and Butler, but spots like 3 through 12 are all Rockets.
Oh, yeah. The Rockets are way deeper and way more athletically talented than Golden
So-
State. And this whole connotation of, oh, it's not a must-win game. Every game in the playoff is a must-win.
Well, I'm okay. Now you're gonna have me push back on that because I would disagree with that, but I don't want to get into a whole thing. Let's not argue the semantics of must win, but I would disagree with that. Instead, let's get into was it dirty? We're talking about Jimmy Butler. Let's talk about what happened to take out Jimmy Butler. I cannot believe well, I guess I can believe it because fans just look through it through the lens of what affects them. Now, I think I've tried to hold myself to a standard better than that. Like when things like happen to the Rockets, I don't take to social media and put up, like you were telling me, people are putting up backgrounds of the hurricane radar
Yeah.
to try to mock the city of Houston, all because of a sports injury. Like I try to hold myself to a standard better than that, but still, like when a Twitter account named Steph Curry 420 or Jimmy Butler 69. Like I don't take what those people say seriously, but I've still, despite that, or in spite of that, whatever, I've been surprised by how sharp the backlash has been to the point of people thinking Amin did it on purpose. So did Amin Thompson do it on purpose? Did he purposely injure Jimmy Butler? I obviously don't think so. I know Cam doesn't think so. Let's hear from NBA expert on ESPN, Tim Legler. Did he do it on purpose?
It's 100% obvious. And the only way that you think that's intentional is if you're a Warriors fan. End of story. People that don't have and are impartial, if you've got two eyes, you can see he was inadvertently tripped into him. That's all. That's it. I'm not talking about it anymore. It's obvious. This isn't, and I got no dog in the fight. I sleep like a baby no matter who wins these games. I don't care. Okay. I don't care. It's obvious he was knocked off balance and fell into him accidentally. It's incredibly unfortunate, but that's not an arrogant opinion, man. That's just having common sense and two eyes.
Exactly. Common sense and two eyes. And we won't get to the Ime quote because I think Tim Legler said enough there, Johnny. But like when you look at the clip, Cam, it's very clearly now. Once when it happened live, I thought Draymond pushed him. You see the under the basket view. That's not true. Draymond didn't push him. So I don't give any fault to Draymond. I kind of suspected him because we always suspect Draymond from stuff like this, but turns out he didn't shove Amin Thompson. But just think about it logically, reasonably. If Warriors 420 on Twitter can do that, I know they're not capable of it. They're posting hurricane radar photos. But if you think about it logically, even getting beyond like the actual video that shows Amin Thompson tripping over Draymond's leg and just getting pushed from like Draymond and Steven Adams were behind him. Just their weight, like they didn't push him, but just their weight and moving forward.
Yeah.
Plus Draymond's leg being in a position to trip him is what caused him to fall. But even getting beyond that, just think about logically. If Amin Thompson decided in the moment that instead of going for this rebound, I'm just going to leg clip Jimmy Butler like I'm in 1997 heel in WWE. If he's going to do that, he's not going to drop to his knees and then face plant to do it, right?
He's not going to use his head to trip somebody.
Yes, exactly. Like if Amin Thompson was doing it on purpose, just think about that. If you're listening, well, obviously you're listening, you're hearing this, but what would it look like to you? It's not dropping to your knees first and then going face first into the ground and into Jimmy Butler. Like that's not how he would do it. Like if he was going Draymond, let's say, to take a shot at Draymond.
Let's ask Draymond. How would he do it?
Yeah, like how would he do it? He's throwing his shoulder into it. He's throwing his back into it. Like he's basically throwing a tackle into the legs of Jimmy Butler. Amin Thompson went down to two knees because he tripped over Draymond's leg and then face planted. Even if he was trying to do intentionally, that's not how he would have done it. I don't see how people could think that there was any way this was intentional.
Yeah, and another point is if the Warrior players thought that it was intentional, they would have gotten into the face of the Rockets and Amin. And two, we know how much Steve Kerr likes to preach, and Steve Kerr even came out and said, we don't think it was a dirty play.
100%.
So Warrior fans need to relax, especially when they have the dirtiest player on their team already.
Yes. No, it's 100%. And let's carry part of that conversation over the other side, because I think the other thing that got just way far overblown in the conversation from game 2 was the reaction we saw specifically from Steve Kerr, as you mentioned, on the crowd at the Toyota Center chanting "F you, Draymond." So we'll hear about that on the other side of the break and weigh in. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back in. ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Belmer with you here on a glorious Saturday afternoon. Talking Rockets right now, and after we get into Steve Kerr and his whining ass, we will get to Coachy, who's calling in to talk about the NFL draft. And if you have any thoughts about Steve Kerr whining the Rockets-Warriors series or the NFL draft, and you want to get into the show like Coachy's doing, give us a call or a text on the HRMP listener line, 713-780-3776. But right now, let's hear from Steve Kerr, who was a little upset about the Toyota Center crowd chanting "F you, Draymond."
It's not ideal when a crowd is, chanting
ideal.
"F you, Draymond." It's just, I don't know. I mean, they did it in Boston a few years ago in the finals. It is what it is. He's been around forever. He's an instigator. He's always going to be in the mix, and because of his career, his championships, his fire, he's going to be a lightning rod, and that's all part of it. I would prefer, if fans could use a little more discretion and, remember that, the guy has kids. And,
okay, all right, cut him off. Johnny, cut him off. I'm done with Steve Kerr's bitch ass talking about,
ass.
Draymond has kids, guys. Okay, did Draymond have kids when he punched his teammate Jordan Poole in the face?
Does Steven Adams have kids? Maybe not.
Not anymore.
Well, he can't have kids because Draymond kicked him in the nuts. Like, what are we talking about? Oh, think about Draymond's kids. It's mean to chant "F you, Draymond." Shame on you, Toyota Center crowd. Shut up, Steve Kerr. I look, as someone who has used the kid shield to get out of things because it's a great crutch. You guys don't have that tremendous joy to say, oh no, I can't do that. I've got, kids,
Yeah.
you guys don't have that joy. But I think the kids crutch is used too often, and Steve Kerr, holy crap, overused it here. Think about the kids, Steve Kerr. Okay, one, you're talking about Draymond freaking Green, the dirtiest player in the game, like he's Ric Flair in the 1980s, slamming the steel cage door on Dusty Rhodes. It's Draymond Green. He's kicking Steven Adams in the nuts. He's stomping people in the face. He's punching his teammate Jordan Poole. Was he thinking about his kids when he punched? What sort of example, Steve Kerr? It was Draymond sitting to his kids when he punched his teammate Jordan Poole in the face.
Sorry, I have to interject real quick. Yeah, Sanders finally got taken.
Yeah, I was going to say Sanders watch is over.
The Browns,
Finally, by the Browns.
the 144th overall pick in the 5th round, the Cleveland Browns have selected Shader Sanders
into the same locker room as Deshaun Watson. Bless you, NFL. That is chef's kiss. That is unbelievable.
That's great. But back to Steve Kerr.
Back to Steve Kerr.
It would have been one thing if he had mentioned maybe like the kids in Toyota Center.
Well, I have even problem with that, but
that I can understand. But again, what does it matter about Draymond's kids who have already seen him nut check people, grab them by their throats,
kick them in the face, stomp on their chest,
punch their own teammate, constantly yell at players and officials? It's just kind of like Draymond has done 20 things worse.
I'm trying to remember the NBA player he called. Oh, it was Karl Anthony Towns. He called up Karl Anthony Towns on his podcast.
Oh yeah,
a couple months ago for ducking his. I can't remember who he said he was ducking. Turns out Karl Anthony Towns was at a family friend's funeral.
Yeah, and then Draymond even went back and was just like, "Oh, I feel bad for him, but I'm not taking back what I said."
Yeah, I wish we had the quote to play. Not only did he not apologize in that moment, he's twice during the quote-unquote apology, which was an apology, he promoted his own podcast.
Yeah, and doubled down on what he said.
Yeah, so the quote was like, what? I feel bad for him, but the Draymond Green show will continue. I was like, what? Okay.
Well, and even Steve Kerr said in that quote that we just listened to, he admitted that he's like, Draymond's been doing this. He gets under people.
The line. He's pushes the line. Line stepper.
He gets under people's skin. So it's just kind of like, okay, Steve Kerr, you acknowledge that basically it's just like you're not surprised it happened. You're just you have to say something, I guess, because it's your guy. But you look like an ass doing it. He's always preaching.
I don't think Draymond needs that at this point. He likes being the villain.
Exactly.
I don't even think he needs it. Now, quickly to your point, and we'll get to Coachy after this. But quickly to your point about the kids in the arena, like you understood it from, like if you had your kid there, you wouldn't want them to hear it. I mean, obviously, I get that. That's not to use Steve Kerr's language. That's not ideal. But I would say going to a game in a big sports arena is not a sterile environment. Like, it's not taking your kid into, Deadpool and Wolverine, like where there's going to be 1,000 F-bombs. But you can't go into an NBA playoff game with 17,000 people there and expect not to hear one drunk guy cursing around you, right?
Oh, that's just part of going to a game.
Exactly.
And when alcohol is involved, like, come on now.
Exactly.
Bring the headphones.
I sort of get on a low scale Kerr saying you don't want the kids to hear the F-bomb. Of course, it's not ideal. But if you buy a ticket and take your kid into that arena, there are 16,000 other lunatics, half of them which will have had an alcoholic beverage, who at one point in the game are going to scream out a curse word. You can't go into a game like that, or really any professional sports game, or even college game. College games might even be worse with students there. But you can't go into that environment and expect your kids not to hear a curse word. That's not a reasonable expectation.
No.
So I
sports.
semi-sympathize that you don't want your kids to hear the F-bomb, but if it was that important to you, take them to the game. Anyway, with that, we'll move on from Steve Kerr's bitch ass and talk to the bitch ass of Coachy. No, I'm kidding. I love Coachy. Coachy, calling in from Tennessee, wants to talk about the NFL draft. What's going on, Coachy?
Gentlemen, our long national nightmare is finally over. In the 5th round, the Cleveland Browns have finally selected Shedeur Sanders. A round of applause. Just really quick. I don't know about you guys, but I was really worried that a guy whose dad literally went and said he had lists of teams he would not let his kid play for wasn't going to get drafted.
Not only that, Coachy, but he had Brian Daboll. Apparently, he had a argument with Brian Daboll in a meeting with the Giants. He had one anonymous scout said it was the worst combine interview he's ever done. Shedeur Sanders himself apparently was trying to dictate terms with teams. Like, who do you think you are, dude?
Yeah, like I really love how this guy had all these demands, wouldn't do certain things at his workout, his dad was getting involved, and Stephen A. Smith takes to Twitter yesterday to make more excuses for a guy who is already coming up with multiple excuses. Like, what? Where does it stop? The fact that Stephen A. Smith is trying to turn this narrative into, well, he's being blacklisted. Yeah, maybe because at a certain point, and this is true of any industry, your attitude outweighs your talent. And if I have a guy who's already making demands before he's even laced up the cleats in the NFL, why would I want to bring him into my organization?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll agree with this, Coachy, but there is always a sliding scale with how much you're willing to put up with versus the talent of the player, right? Like if he was the prospect that, I don't know, Andrew Luck was, or Jameis Winston. I know Jameis Winston now is a punchline, but at a time he was, the number one overall prospect. That RG3 was, whoever the top level quarterbacks are. If he was making those demands but had their talent, I think for the most part, teams would overlook it, and he might slide into the late first, but he'd still be drafted in the first round. I think the teams are telling Shedeur Sanders, like, your talent ain't worth this crap.
Yeah, imagine your slut rock producer behind the board came in when you guys were starting the show. And
Johnny's
hey
great.
Guys, look, I'll come to the show, but I'm not using any sound effects. I'm not getting the phone calls at all. I will take us in and out of break, but that's it. Take it or leave it. You wouldn't have that guy on your show.
We would not.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny, if you start big timing us, we might have to make a call to another producer.
Well, and the thing too was, a lot
kidding.
of people were bringing up Eli Manning and like, oh, look how diva Eli Manning was. Well, Eli Manning still went through the draft process. He just bitched because after he got drafted
Papa
by,
bitch because he didn't want to go to the Chargers.
Yeah, so but it's not the same. Like I get it, but it's not to the same level. At least he went through like the interview processes and like did that whole thing like he was expected to. He didn't start complaining until he got drafted by my Chargers, but it's not the same thing. It's not a good comparison, I don't think.
Can we also admit that how bad of a look is this? That you tried to big time the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets, and even that.
Yeah, no, there's literally a Cleveland. Go ahead, Coach.
We're good.
Yeah, sorry, you're breaking up a little there. You're breaking up a little there, Coachy. But I do think it's funny to your point, Coachy, that there's literally a Browns fan out there. We've all seen the picture of the jersey that has duct tape, or like 1,000 pieces of duct tape down the back to go over all, like not Achilles Smith, like Tim Couch and Seneca Wallace and Colt McCoy, like all the hundreds of names.
Baker
Mayfield,
like
Jameis
Osweiler.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he ever played for them, but yeah. And that team with that quarterback history was still like, nah.
The only thing that I hope with that poor soul who has the quarterback jersey, I just hope that when he adds Shedeur Sanders' name tag to that jersey, he makes it at least in Louis.
I'm sorry, he makes it in what?
In Louis, the Louis Vuitton brand.
Okay. All right, I'm with you.
B-Mac's not a Louis guy.
No, yeah.
Stay with me.
Coach knows that about me. There's nothing about me that says Louis Vuitton. I'm probably the poorest dresser on the planet.
You are a fancy bitch.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's not what you wear; it's how you wear it.
Yes. It's the attitude. I present the attitude of a fancy bitch, with the dress of a manual
Like-
laborer. That's Brian McDonald.
Imagine living in a world where Bronny James is no longer the biggest symbol of nepotism, baby, in sports. Like, oh my God.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Shador's more talented than Bronny, but still, I mean, kind of getting back to my earlier point, like they would put up with Shador's nonsense if he was a can't miss prospect. But he's a dude with, I mean, every evaluation I've seen, whether it's Lance Zernline here at the station or Todd McShay, Dane Brugler, basically everyone except for Mel Kiper, who's been glazing him all week. Everyone says like he's a good quarterback, but he doesn't have a single special trait.
It's like high floor, low ceiling.
Yeah, kind of like exactly. High floor, low ceiling. Like he does a lot of things pretty good. He doesn't do a single thing special. You're not going to allow a player with that sort of profile that doesn't do anything special to dictate terms to you and also deal with the drama of who his daddy is.
Yeah.
I mean, at what point does the University of Colorado go, you know what, maybe we'll unretire number 2?
I mean, he could go back. He has a year left. He could go back.
I think he
can't now. But
no, he can't now. I think the answer, Coachy, the second Dion leaves, they're chiseling that name off the wall. but as long as Dion's there, it'll stay.
I hope they used Velcro when they did that.
You should have.
I would love to see that video. I would love to see the video. All right, any thoughts before we get out, Coachy, on what the Texans did or anything draft besides Shador?
In Caserio, we trust. That man can do no wrong unless he's drafting offensive linemen, even though, I mean, not for lack of trying, he's tried to fix that line. But he hasn't been very good at that. But wide receivers, I trust them. I cannot wait to see what the Iowa State kids can do. That's all I have for that.
All right, Rackham, thank you for calling in, Coachy. Go ahead.
Oh, also, I still hate the Tennessee Titans, even though I live up here, so they can suck it.
Love it.
All right, perfect way to go out. Thank you to Coachy for calling in all the way from, bum Tennessee, and they're a terrible team. I hate that they got I think a good quarterback in Cam Ward. They'll find a way to ruin them. They're the Titans.
Another solid Cam.
That's what. Well, I mean, all right. So Cam Smith, the Astros player, Cam Ward. I don't know how many we get into, Johnny, before we get to this man to my right. I don't know. I don't know how many Cams we're getting to.
He's right behind him.
Right behind. Okay,
right
so,
there.
Oh, nice.
So if I did here's a segue for you, Johnny. If I did a Mount Rushmore +1 of Cams, you saying this Cam Smith is on it?
I think he'd be an honorable mention.
Yay! I would be mentioned honorably.
That is the first time someone said Cam Smith is honorable in the history. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, kind of. All right, on the other side of the break, we get into the best segment of your weekend. We get into Mount Rushmore +1. Don't go anywhere. Welcome in, Houston, to the best part of your weekend. Welcome in to Mount Rushmore Plus One, the groundbreaking, award-winning sports radio landscape changing segment that'll get Cam Smith, John Belmer, myself, and along with Sean Mapes, even though he's only here every few weeks, into the Texas Radio Hall of Fame in far less than the 27 years it took John Lance to get there. Just saying. It'll take us 22. That is the prediction for now. All right, it's time for Mount Rushmore Plus One. Anyone want to volunteer to lead off? Should I go first, or is anyone chomping at the bit to get off their takes here?
I mean, I don't mind going first.
All right, Cam, lead us off.
I'll lead off. So this comes after attending the Astros game on Tuesday. Mine is annoying things fans do at sporting events.
Oh, okay. Like chant "F you, Draymond."
Oh no, I love that.
According to Steve Kerr,
I applaud that.
No,
Go
I do
for it.
too. But Steve Kerr, they chant, think about the children.
Screw his children. Get them kids.
Get them kids. That's right. Yeah.
So the first one I have is standing up and having a conversation in the aisle.
Oh yeah,
Please,
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Please squat or take it up to the concourse.
Are you talking about like where the steps are, or
Yeah.
like in between, like walking in front of people?
Well, either one, but
Yeah.
mostly the steps, especially like how you're supposed to like if you're going down, you're supposed to be going one way, and if you're going up, you're going the other way.
It's like driving
Yeah.
on the road. You're right, right and left.
But then
yeah.
there's people standing there having conversations with somebody 8 seats away in the row, and it's just like squat or just take it up to the concourse, please.
Yeah. Or you have phones, text them.
Exactly. The next one is bringing of inflatables. Like when people bring
like the thunder sticks?
The thunder sticks
Yeah.
or like the beach balls.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I no.
Are,
this
are
is,
you no fun? I mean, beach balls sound pretty fun.
beach balls are great at the pool or at the beach since it's a beach ball, but this I don't want to see a big old beach ball bounced around in front of me when I'm
Even
trying
if
to
it's
watch.
We might find out Cam's not fun at games.
Yeah.
Johnny.
I'm very fun at games.
I don't know. I mean, you sound like you hate fun when you say you're
I don't know.
anti-beach
Plus,
ball.
That's
you're at
not
a baseball
fun.
game. Like, there's lots of downtime in between. Like you can hit a beach ball up
No,
and keep it up.
most
like,
of this is when I'm talking about like while the games, like the beach ball is when the innings in or when the quarter's being played. Like if it's in an off period or timeout, sure. But like if it's while the game is being played, ain't nobody got time for that.
All right. I've got my thoughts on that and some other things, but go ahead and finish your list, and we'll figure it out after that.
The next one, there is a reason why those seats are raised up off the ground so that when you're done with your food or drinks, you can slide them underneath, not leave them in the row so that when people are trying to already slide by you cram packed, they're having to step over your leftover hot dog platter and nachos.
Sheriff Blaylock nachos.
Exactly. Like just move them back underneath the seat, please. The next one, and this is probably mostly just at baseball games, but when people get sunflower seeds or peanut shells, and they're the ones that are at the very front row by the ledge, and they drop their seeds and peanut shells over on top of the people
and they
below
fall down
them.
and hit you.
Yeah,
Okay.
Again, there's a reason why you have a row by your feet. Drop them in the row, not over the railing.
Yeah, that's just being a
onto
terrible
people.
person.
Yeah,
and in their
you're
drinks.
you're just being an a-hole at that point.
Yeah, and then the next one is the wave. I was
hoping you were going to get to that. 'Cause that's on my list. I hate the wave.
I wish there was like a designated half inning where you could do the wave, and then it's not allowed.
And then and then they see you do it at any other part of the game. You're
especially if the game is like
ejected.
tied. If it's like 2-2 going into like the 7th, there's no call. There's no need for the wave. If you're ahead by
It's
like
just
10
so
runs,
stupid.
sure.
Why? Why is it stupid? I don't understand the hate for the wave.
Like,
Yeah,
what-
well, yes,
how
but
is that fun?
But it's not necessarily about fun. It's
Well, what else would you do it
it's something for the crowd to all get into.
What are they,
one thing.
stretching?
One thing. No, it's
Well,
one
well,
thing.
why not
You
get
go
into
around as
together
many
cheering
times
for the
as you
team?
can. Well, yes, but then you once you get it going, you go around as many times as you can. I don't understand the hate for it though. Sure, if you don't want to participate, don't participate.
Oh,
but,
I don't.
but-
I don't.
I do not.
I'm a wave killer.
Nope.
Where's the hate towards it? Like, what is?
It's just dumb.
It's just
That's-
uncalled for in certain situations.
Like it's like, oh, I gotta like the game. Like Cam's point earlier about like the beach balls. Like the game's coming on. Like the game's in the middle of a tight situation. Maybe there's 2 runners on, or or it's a tie game in the fourth quarter, and I got to worry about this crowd coming
Yeah,
around.
like after the third out, when the players are walking off the field, if that's when you want to start the wave to do it during the
and then
the middle of the
ends
inning,
when the pitch
go
is
for
thrown?
it. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was always fascinated to see that many people be able to complete a wave. We can't even drive on the highway safely and like do normal things. to be able to like get that many people to do it again and again, I just thought was fascinating.
I thought it was cool too when I was like
cool.
9.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Man, Johnny, he's taking shots at you.
Never that.
Johnny's over here treating the wave like it's a miracle of like modern innovation. And
He's like,
Cam
when
and
at my wedding, they're gonna do the wave.
Cam just went
Johnny,
down
we're
on
doing the
the
wave.
Mount Rushmore.
We're gonna
Cam
do the
was.
wave at your
Yeah.
wedding then.
When you eventually get
Oh, really?
married, we're
Yeah.
doing the wave.
When she's walking down the aisle, it's just be woo.
Now, can you ever do a wave at a funeral? Would that be frowned upon?
I don't know
I
why.
think it depends on whose funeral you're at, right?
I guess you're waving them goodbye.
Do I have permission at either of your funerals, assuming you go before me? Unlikely. To do the wave at your funeral.
Go for it, because I won't be there to witness
All right,
it.
so
Yeah, I'm fine with it too.
Johnny, you in?
I'm fine with it too.
All
but
right.
especially
we have
if it's a
audio
hated
evidence.
person.
Family members of Cam Smith and of John Belmer. We're doing the wave at your funerals. All right. I don't know which list I want to go here for my Mount Rushmore +1. I've got 2. I'll just say, Cam, am I going topic A or topic B? Neither one's sports. A. Okay, so my Mount Rushmore +1 is this. I don't know if you guys saw this news, but apparently Subway is going to be serving nachos. Or they might already be doing it, but apparently Subway now on their official menu has foot-long nachos. And I had the thought, like, I couldn't, like, I already don't want to eat at Subway because, well, many reasons, but mostly
it's not fresh.
Right, it's not fresh. The quality of the ingredients is not high, among many reasons. But like, I can't think of an item I'd want to have less than nachos from Subway. Like, if I'm saying, man, I could kill some nachos right now, how far down the list do I have to go before I get to let me go to Subway to get nachos? So
isn't the whole point to eat fresh and healthy at Subway?
I
was on board with their foot-long chocolate chip cookie, but
they have a foot-long chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah, they
yeah. That I can get behind.
Good Lord, do people? Okay,
they have a foot-long churro too.
Okay, now that I could say, well, not from Subway, but a foot-long churro in general, I can get on board. Daddy loves some churros. All right, this is a Mount Rushmore +1 of food I'd rather eat than Subway nachos, because I'll just go ahead and tell you, Subway nachos at the top of the list. I don't think there's anything in the world I want to eat less than Subway nachos. That feels just depressing. Number 1, if Jack in Box started serving sushi, that would be pretty bad. That would be on par with nachos from Subway. 2, McDonald's start serving beef tartare. I mean, we already know we're getting the C level, maybe D level meat from McDonald's, and they're turning it into beef tartare, raw beef.
They just had an outbreak not that long ago too. Like,
did they?
Yeah.
Of course they did. We all still eat there anyway, but we know what's going on. But yeah, beef tartare from McDonald's would be on the level of disgusting that I think Subway nachos would be. If Taco Bell started serving hot dogs, we already know you're giving us the C level, meat there. They've actually started to up their game a little bit as far as the quality of their chicken, but I mean, hot dog is already kind of just the random scraps of a pig thrown into a casing. And if we took that down to Taco Bell level,
the only way I could somewhat justify that is because Taco Bell is obviously like Tex-Mex Mexican food, is if they kind of did maybe like a Mexican style hot dog.
But it's not going to be a good one.
But it's not going. It's still not going to be a good one.
Cheese whiz from a can, and just the scraps of all the different just sour cream that's been sitting out all day. Like
you just go straight to that. It'd be bad. Because look, I mean, Taco Bell's not known for their chicken, but they do the chicken really well, and they're not known for French fries, but those nacho fries are good. Like, they're not known for things, but they can do it.
I just I just feel like if I went to Taco Bell and got a hot dog, I'm getting the worst possible hot dog I can get.
You're getting the leftover hot dogs from Dollar Night at the Astros game.
Yeah, or like if you go I don't know if you know this about me, but I go to the movies early in the morning.
Oh, you don't say.
Actually, I went to a movie on Friday. Movie started at 10:40 a.m.
You didn't tell us this.
Cha-ching. No, because you guys mocked me for it. It made me feel old. I wasn't here for that on Friday. By the way, Until Dawn, pretty good movie. Anyway, but it's like when you go to the movie theaters in the morning. You guys may not be able to relate to this, and you see the hot dogs already there. Like, how long have they been there? So that's kind of thought. Same thing. Like you go to the gas station and you see the hot dogs, like the little rollator. That's the kind of hot dogs I would.
Another made-up word?
Those things have been cooking for hours.
Rollator is a word?
I think so. You can fact check me, but I think it's a word. Anyway, let's move on from Taco Bell. I got two more quickly. Seafood from any fast food restaurant. Hard pass. Like I don't care if it's Long John Silver's. I don't care if it's what. What are you looking at me like that?
But Long John Silver's is literally a seafood
I
place.
know. I'm just not going to buy seafood from a fast food restaurant.
What about Popeyes? Their fried shrimp.
Never tried it.
Oh,
No, I'd hard pass. I'd hard pass.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going.
And then last on my Mount Rushmore plus one of food I'd rather have than Subway nachos, just anything from Arby's. Just Arby's in general. Like
we got the meats.
No, you got the runs. Arby's is gross. No, hard pass. No, I don't know what you got Arby's, but it ain't the meats.
Or if you got like a veggie burger from Arby's, be like,
ooh,
wait a second,
okay.
what?
You know what? I mean, I did say anything from Arby's, but yes, if they started doing like the Impossible burgers or veggie burgers from Arby's, that would be pretty bad. All right, John Bilmer, quickly, your Mount Rushmore plus one.
Yeah, I'll do mine rapid fire. I actually, mine's inspired by a dinner that I cooked this week. That was breakfast. I made breakfast for dinner.
Chef.
So, thank you.
Chef Bilmer.
This is my Mount Rushmore plus one of just breakfast food items, not the full meal, but just the items.
Okay.
We've had some debates on this before, so I thought it'd be.
Are you putting these items together to make a meal?
Sure, you can.
Okay.
Like you can. These are just the individual items that lead up to it. Number 5, I went hash browns, but with cheddar cheese on top.
Now, are these like the fast food style hash browns, or like the like a diner style?
Like a diner style.
Okay.
Diner style for sure.
Nice.
Not like McDonald's oval.
But yeah, oval. Okay.
Those are okay, but like I'm talking like diner style. Number 4. Classic here is French toast.
Okay.
I think it belongs on this list above pancakes, above waffles.
Ooh.
It's there. Matter of fact,
waffles over French toast. But.
Spoiler.
Yeah, me too.
Waffles or pancakes, neither of them on this list.
Wow.
It's a bad list, Johnny. I'm not liking this list.
Number 3, this might be a me thing. Corned beef hash. I'm a big corned beef hash for breakfast guy.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Huh? Are you Irish?
No, I'm not Irish.
Okay.
No, but that was something that my family made growing up. Number 2, I just put breakfast tacos in general, but I'm thinking my niche is chorizo and potato.
There we go.
That is the.
I'd either say that or barbacoa, but yeah. You can't go wrong either way.
And number 1 for me is biscuits and gravy with a good sausage gravy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Top
now
with the
you
sausage.
redeemed your list with the final 2, like biscuits and gravy and breakfast tacos all day long. The was it French toast you had in there? Like, I was like I'd rather have waffles.
No eggs.
Well, eggs is kind of one of those things that you can add with anything, so I didn't put it on the list.
Okay, I respect it. True.
I think I don't know what you guys what this would be for you guys, but anytime I go to a breakfast spot, and I went to one with my wife, I guess Friday or 2, not this last Friday, but the Friday before. But if I go to a breakfast spot that I know to be pretty good, because the reviews tell us they're pretty good, and I see that it has chicken and waffles on the menu, like it's not even a thought. That's what I'm ordering every single time. Do you guys have anything like that? Like if you go in and you see, oh, they got this, that's what I'm ordering.
Yeah, I mean, I love huevos con chorizo, especially if it comes with like breakfast potatoes. So, but I'm also not going to just get that from. Like if it's not a Mexican spot, I'm probably not going to get that. But the thing is I also don't eat breakfast a whole lot, so I'm not really an expert on where to go for like breakfast stuff.
What about you, Johnny?
Your chicken and waffles. Hold on, because there's a difference between chicken and waffles with tenders and then the wings. Like
I'll go either one.
Okay.
The one I see the most often it's usually tenders. Like that, like the places I go, like brunch spots, there's usually the only place I know that does the wings and it's fantastic is Breakfast Club.
Yeah, because the wings are harder to do than tenders,
they are. Like
but they're so much better.
Oh, Breakfast Club is elite. But anything like that for you, Johnny?
Biscuits and gravy. No
Biscuits
matter
and
where I'm
gravy?
at, if it's a
Okay.
breakfast place, that if they've got it, I'm getting that.
That's a good take. All right, we got to get to the break here. On the other side, we'll get into what we love from sports this week and the worst people in sports when the bullpen returns on ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, it's the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back in. Final segment today on the Bullpen. Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Belmer with you. And again, programming note, maybe this is mostly to not Santa because he always tweets at us that we're lazy when we're not on, but we will not be on next week. John and I have plans, and Cam's going to run John Clay Wolf, so hashtag winning. But before we get out for this final segment today, let's get into what we love from sports this week and what we the worst people in sports this week. I'll go first here. My worst person in sports is the Jaguars GM Gladstone. He's went into this whole thing about players who are intangibly rich, whatever the hell that means. He's going to attempt to explain it. But this dude, this like 26-year-old GM, is just insufferable.
And the people that we will accept for who they are is and invite and select will be those that are intangibly rich. And people, again, I know I've been asked quite often, like, what does that actually mean? And I promise that whatever just came to your mind is what I'm thinking. Like, it exists. It's in my mind as well as yours.
Wait, did you hear that? He's like, oh, well, like I've been
He
asked.
didn't explain it.
Yeah, I've been asked to define it. What, whatever comes in your mind. That's what I'm hearing too. Like, what are you? He sounds like someone selling a pyramid scheme. Like, I cannot stand this guy. This player is intangibly rich. It's just, I thought it was already annoying enough where he looks like a. I mean, he's like a 26-year-old guy, and somehow he got the GM
Can't
job.
you just say this guy has a lot of attributes?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I guess the one silver lining is he's joining the Jaguars, and I feel pretty good that that's not going to go well for them. So
fine by us.
Yeah, swarm, baby, swarm. All right, Cam, what'd you love from sports? Or who's your worst person in sports?
Worst person in sports. And I know this seems not sports related, but Buffalo Wild Wings does call themselves a sports bar, and their unlimited wing deal is an absolute fraud.
Oh, really? They have a cutoff point, even though it's supposed to be unlimited?
It's not a cutoff point, but they basically advertise it boneless, unlimited, $20, traditional $24. However,
so $24 you're supposed to get is
unlimited wings and fries. However, on
fries, okay.
On draft day, we went up to Buffalo Wild Wings and we were asking, we want to do the unlimited thing, and even the server there was like, look, he's like, it's a fraud because technically you can only order 10 wings your first order. You have to finish all of them before you can make another order. But every order after that, you can only get 5 wings at a time. And because Buffalo Wild Wings is already notorious for having crappy service,
it's going to take forever.
It's going to take forever. So you're not going to wait. So you're going to leave. So even the guy was like, look, it's buy one, get one on Thursday. He's like, you should just do that so that you can get all your wings at once and not have to wait 2 hours to get what would be basically worth unlimited wings. So yeah, it's just a marketing ploy.
Bad job, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, bad job.
That is
shame on you.
You know what Buffalo Wild Wings is not? Intangibly rich.
Nope.
Whatever that means, I have no idea still. All right, quickly, what we love from sports this week. It's time to go ahead and swim over to the Sea of Tranquility. Stop swimming around with the anger sharks. Talk about what we love from sports this week. Quickly, you probably saw Shaq had to rush off the set the other night of Inside the NBA because, well, he had to poop. According to the Inside the NBA guys, he's apparently drinking olive oil to cleanse out his system. And, well, it cleansed him out right in the middle of the show. So he literally runs off the set and just like, hey, you guys keep going on. I know we're live. You guys keep going on. So this led to a moment the next night where there was something on the stage to the side of the desk waiting for Shaq when the show started.
I just noticed it. We'll talk about it in just a second. Anyway, last night both road teams won. Tonight all 3 home teams won. All the highlights coming your way. That's what Chuck is laughing about. Y'all stupid, man. We were trying to save it for the beginning of the show. How the hell you gonna miss a big ass toy? Well, you missed it most of the night. That thing has put down since the last halftime. You picked a hell of a time to wake up. Oh, my God. Inside the NBA comes your way next. I love y'all, man.
They put a damn porta potty on the set of Inside the NBA the day after Shaq had to run off the set because he had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the show. So just an absolute Inside the NBA in their final season on TNT is on absolute heater. Cam, what'd you love from sports?
I loved the FU chants towards Draymond.
All right, that'll do it for the Bullpen. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Again, we are off next week, so no show for that first Saturday in May. We'll be back the week after. For John Belmer behind the glass, for Cam Smith, I am Brian McDonald. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. I present the attitude of a fancy bitch with the dress of a manual laborer.